Someone has to say it. Processed food is designed to keep your cat surviving, not thriving. Honestly, isn't it crazy that we are told our carnivore cats who rely on food for moisture, who need to eat high meat-based protein, we are told to feed our carnivores a dried up ball of cereal, dried up ball of carbohydrates every single meal, every day, for months and weeks and years. And this is the only food that's appropriate for our carnivore cats. That's a big no for me. See, I've learned the hard way over and over with cats in my life who all ate dry food. Whiskas had a stroke, Chelsea had diabetes, Lucky had cancer. She was only 8 years old, and we were told there was nothing else that we could do. We had Silky until 20, which is a good age, but it wasn't old age that got her. It was kidney disease. Milo lived to 17, again, another good age, but it wasn't the age, it was liver failure. He had jaundice. And then Coco was only 10. He died suddenly because he was dehydrated. Hemi, our last cat that we lost, was only 3.5 years old. He had kidney failure. Hemi was the push that I needed to go into professional nutrition education for our cats, and he's the push that I needed to teach others that a raw diet is the most appropriate diet for our carnivore cats. Now, I'm sure that you've heard and you've been told that a raw diet is going to kill your cat, but here's the thing. Jericho has been eating raw now since I adopted him 7 years ago. And he runs around like he's a kitten every day, even though he's 8, which is considered a senior nowadays, which is beyond crazy. He runs around like he's a kitten every single day. He has perfect blood work. He loves cuddling with me. He actually demands this routine, like he stares daggers at me until I actually lay down. He uses the litter box every single time. His poops don't stink, and no, he has never had any parasites. Now, I'm not here to shame anyone for what they feed their cats. I'm just here to say that we've been lied to about what our carnivore cats are supposed to eat. But I'm also here to provide a solution. Maybe you've already tried switching your cat to healthy food and he turned his nose up at it. You feel like you've tried everything and nothing works. Maybe your cat is overweight or obese and you want your cat to lose weight because that's healthier, but you don't want to starve your cat. You feel like your cat's constantly begging for food. Or maybe you already know that a raw diet is best. You just don't know how to make the switch, or you don't know which recipes to use. You are in the right place. Hello, my friend. It is Jess and my boss, Jericho. It is a blessing that you are here. Hallelujah. So the first thing that we'll talk about is the most common objection that I get. My cat is too picky to eat good food. So first, I like to say that cats are cautious and not picky about food because this is a survival instinct. So your cat's life outside, even if he's never been outside, your cat has these survival instincts. So just think about the cat. The cats are predators, but they're also prey. So they have to be very careful. They have to be cautious. They like routine. They like predictability, because if they do something that's out of the ordinary, it could mean their survival. So they really, really thrive on routine. Maybe you've noticed that your cat bothers you for food at the same time every day or uses the bathroom at the same time every day. This is that survival instinct of predictability and routine kicking in. And when you offer new food that your cat has never seen before, has never smelled before, has never eaten before, your cat is like, I don't really want to take a chance on this. I've never had this before. And then they don't want to eat it. On top of that, processed food, especially dry food, is extremely, extremely addicting. It's kind of like how we get addicted to candy and cookies and ice cream. I mean, I had the biggest food addiction. And even when I gave up sweets, even when I gave up the cookies, the brownies, and the cakes and all of that, I still overate things like bread and pistachios. But what's the common theme there? Carbohydrates. They all have high carbohydrates. Carbohydrates break down into sugar. That just fuels hunger. That fuels overeating. It changes the chemicals in our brain. We literally get addicted to it. And it's the same thing with our cats. They get addicted to that sugar rush, basically. On top of that, on top of cautious eating and being addicted to it, pet food companies know that cats are carnivores. They do not eat high carbohydrate food in their natural diet. A mouse, a rat, a rabbit, those are their natural foods. It's less than 10% carbs on a dry matter basis. And that just comes from the stomach contents because they eat herbivores, right? Mice eat plants, rabbits eat plants. So that's the amount of carbs that they get in their diet when cats eat those prey. So since pet food companies know this and their product, especially dry food, is very high in carbohydrates, they have to add flavor enhancer palatants to the product so that cats actually eat enough of it for it to be nutritious. Since it's very high in carbohydrates, the other macronutrients, protein and fat, naturally go down. So it's low in protein, lower than what cats need. And on top of that, most of the protein comes from peas, legumes, chickpeas, all of these things that are high in carbohydrates. So they add the flavor enhancers to the food so that the cat actually eats it. They spray it on there. It lights them up, they sniff it and they know exactly what it is and they eat it. They get addicted to these flavor enhancers as well. So now you're trying to feed fresh food, fresh raw food that doesn't have these flavor enhancers, it doesn't have these carbohydrates, and it's brand new. Your cat's like, no, give me my safe junk food. Give me my junk food. I don't know what you expect me to do with this. I want my junk food. Thank you very much. No, we can still work through this. It's just that cats need a slower and much more gradual upgrade to fresher foods. So we upgrade how we feed our cats, we upgrade what we feed our cats, and we work with our cats, give them the patience that they deserve, and we work through it. Now, the next thing that I mentioned earlier is this is very common. A lot of cats in the US, more than half the cats in the US, are overweight or obese. So a lot of cat parents ask me, how can I get my cat to lose weight? I'm on this special prescription weight loss diet. I'm feeding less food, but my cat is still overweight. My cat is still begging for food. My cat acts like he's starving for nutrients. So the problem here again is the carbohydrates, especially if it's dry food, but even a lot of canned foods are still high in carbohydrates. And that means it's low in the meat-based protein that cats need. So feeding your cat less food isn't fixing the problem. It is starving your cat of nutrients that he needs because it's already very low in meat-based protein. So feeding less dry food doesn't help. At least, it's not going to help your cat lose weight, and it isn't going to nourish your cat as well. So what we need to do is upgrade the food first. So we need to upgrade to fresher food, wet food, human grade quality wet food, a lightly cooked homemade food. Raw is ideal because that's what matches our cat's natural diet the most. But even a home cooked meal is still great because you have control over the ingredients and it's fresh food. So we upgrade what we're feeding, we upgrade how we're feeding our cats, and we get them onto fresher quality food, and then we can focus on reducing the amount of food that we feed. And you might even notice that when you switch your cat to healthier food, your cat will lose weight naturally. And the good thing about healthy food is you don't have to feed as much of it. So you might be feeding a cup of dry food right now, which is about 8 ounces, but a cat eating raw food would probably eat about 4 ounces, 4.5 ounces of food. So you're feeding way less, which means your cat is getting more nutrients and more high quality nutrients, which is amazing. So cats can lose weight naturally and without starving on a fresher food diet. Now, the next question that I get a lot is, how do I know that the raw diet or the recipe or the home cooked diet that I'm doing is balanced? So you definitely want to make sure that the recipe that you're using provides a nutritional analysis. The nutritional analysis is going to show you what the recipe provides versus one of the nutritional organization guidelines standards. So AFCO is for the US. That's the one that all of us are pretty much known. We're familiar with. Then there's FEDIAF for the European Union. The NRC was the original one, National Research Council. That was the original one in the US, and that's kind of where 𝐤𝐄𝐄 and FEDIAF got their guidelines. They kind of used that as a baseline and then went off of that. But basically, the recipe should show you here's what the recipe provides and here's what the recommended minimum and maximum are for each nutrient. That way you know that it is complete and balanced. And I will say that a lot of the free recipes online are not complete and balanced. Some of them will tell you in the article, this is just a treat, this is just for intermittent or supplemental feeding only. That means that it is not a complete and balanced meal. It's just like a one-time treat, here and there. But I did put into diet formulation software some of the vet recommended recipes. If you just search on Google vet recommended recipes, I just pulled 3 from the top results and I put them into diet formulation software. And these recipes did not say whether or not they were complete and balanced, and they did not provide a nutritional analysis. So when I put them into the software, all 3 of them were deficient in nutrients, and one of them was even deficient in like every single amino acid. So I would contact the recipe creator and say, can you provide a nutritional analysis? Is this recipe complete and balanced for my cat's life stage? If you have a kitten, is it complete and balanced for a kitten, for growth? Is it complete and balanced for adult cat? That way you know that the recipe that you're feeding is complete and balanced. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anyone or make you think that homemade food and raw is complicated. It's not. It's easy. But just like anything, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. So yes, your cat might get really good results eating fresh food, even if it's not balanced. But in the long run, you might have nutritional deficiencies if you're not feeding the right ingredients. So the best place to get recipes is straight from a nutritionist, somebody that's going to provide that analysis, or you can buy formulation software and you can create your own recipes, and that will tell you if it's complete and balanced or not. So now maybe you're wondering, will homemade or a raw diet work for my picky cat? Well, I want to tell you about Sandra. She is one of my course students. She has 2 cats, Dirk and Avery. So Dirk is older, and he had been eating dry food his whole life, and he started to gain unnecessary weight. And Sandra started to worry, like, I don't want him to develop diabetes. He's having trouble jumping to his favorite places. He's gaining this weight, and it's not healthy for him. Avery, her other cat, is younger, and she didn't have any health issues, but she was a picky eater. Both of them, since they were eating dry food, they were both very picky. She tried switching foods, and she thought that wet food would be better because it's healthier, but then she started reading about raw, and she even said everything started to make sense. This is what they would eat in their natural habitat. This is what would make them feel their best. So then she found me, and she became a course member of mine, and she started switching her cats. She started switching them both, adding a little bit of fresh food into their meals, and that helped them get used to eating better quality ingredients slowly. And Sandra said this was such an indispensable tool. It eliminated any fears or questions I had about the transition, making everything feasible, easy to understand, and convenient. Because a lot of cat parents tell me they feel stressed, they feel overwhelmed, they're just tired of doing the research. There's either not enough information on cat nutrition online, or there's too much conflicting information about what our cats should eat. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of research to try to put it all together yourself, on top of the fact of like your cat doesn't want to eat fresh food and you don't know what to do about it. So Sandra said that it was the slow transition that was very key to her cat's progress. And within just 2 weeks, she noticed really great results. So Dirk started to run around, and he got more energy, he got more playful. He lost weight eventually, slowly, just like cats should do. And she didn't think this was possible, but Avery also gains some of her energy back, and she's only 2. She's a young cat. She has that energy. But she's like, I didn't think this was possible, but she got even more energetic and playful. And now her cats are eating a lightly cooked homemade recipe, one of my recipes. And she said that, without these courses, she wouldn't have been able to make that transition and make that switch. And she said that her bond was strong before, but now she feels like it's just even stronger. Now, Sandra only has 2 cats. I only have 1 cat. My mom has 4 cats. She makes it work for her. Maybe you might be thinking, like, can I make homemade or raw for multiple cats? A lot of people tell me I have a lot of mouths to feed. How am I supposed to do this with multiple cats? So now I'm going to talk to you about Donna, another course member of mine. When she found me, she had 7 cats. Now she has 8, but she had 7 back then. And she was dealing with a lot of health issues among her cats. So she had allergies. One of her cats had allergies so bad that they would have anaphylactic shock and stop breathing. One of her cats had rodent ulcers. Some of her cats were picky eaters, and some of her cats had behavior issues. Some of them had trouble staying at a healthy weight. So she had a lot of everything going on among her 7 cats. And she actually kept a food journal because she knew that wet food was better than dry food. She knew that raw and home cooked would be better than dry food and wet food, but she wanted to pinpoint what was the actual problem with the food that she was feeding because she knew that it was food related. So she kept a food diary, and she realized that it was the chemical preservatives and the additives that they add to commercial food, even wet food. She said she saw some good results with grain-free wet food, but the problem is a lot of these companies change their formulas and you would have no idea because, I mean, let's face it, you need a magnifying glass just to read the ingredients. There's no way to know unless they email every single customer, but how can they? Because if you buy it locally, if you buy it at, somewhere else. So she realized that a lot of these companies change their formulas, and then that's what causes a reaction in her cats. So she had some success switching to a home-cooked diet with a recipe that she found online, but she wanted to fine-tune and really get down to a feeding routine that works best for her cats. She didn't want to rely on a premix. She didn't want to rely on that recipe anymore because of the supplements. So she joined my course. She became a member, and she was able to develop a feeding routine that works for her situation. She's very busy. She works full time. She works crazy hours. She's got lots of cats. So she was able to get down a feeding routine that works for her. So she keeps freeze-dried raw on hand when she's busy and can't make the food. She makes home cooked food, and then she'll cook it less and less each week and then feed it a little raw. And one time actually she was making raw and she wasn't done yet. She was putting it in the crock pot, and then she put it on the floor real quick just to clean something up. And Esther came along and started eating out of the food, and she was like, "Esther, that's not cooked yet." And he was like, "Well, why is it in a cat-shaped plate if it's not cooked yet, if it's not my food?" So she realized that, there's not one way to feed our cats. We can create our own feeding routine with the right information. And you don't have to do things like perfect. You can supplement with freeze-dried raw that's rehydrated. You can make homemade when you need to. You can do cooked. You can do raw. And also keeping a food diary is really important for your individual cat because, yes, they're all carnivores, but they also have their own unique individual needs. We have our own unique individual needs based on our schedules. So she said that it was well worth the money and investment to have me walk you through how to decide what's best for your individual cat, how to track everything, how to make the food, and how to feed it successfully as well so that you stick with it in the long run. And Donna said, even if you can't always do completely homemade and end up supplementing their diet with reconstituted freeze-dried raw or canned food, at least you'll be able to know what to look for in a good quality cat food, and you won't have to settle for bad food for your cats, especially if your kitty has allergies. You'll know how to omit the problematic ingredients and avoid reactions and meds used to treat them. And that's exactly what I empower you to do. I want to give you the information to empower you to be your cat's best advocate because you know your cat the best and you make the decisions for your cat. So I want you to become your cat's best advocate. Because you should never rely on anyone else, even me. You shouldn't rely on someone else to tell you what to do for your cat. Your cat is your cat and your responsibility at the end of the day. So what I want to do is I'm here to provide the information, to provide my experience, to provide my my educational background and my professional training just to help you make the best decisions for your cat. And Sandra and Donna and so many other cat parents who have followed my transition plan, They've showed us that our cats need fresh food, fresh, real food. Processed foods are inconsistent. They are not designed for our cat's thriving life, and they cause more problems than it's worth. But healthy, homemade, and raw cat food, it gives us complete control. We have more control over the ingredients, we have control over the quality, we have control over how it's made, and therefore we have more control over the cost. And that's really the most amazing benefit. I mean, of course, it's great for our cats, but it also feels good for us. It's very empowering to know that I have complete control over Jericho's diet. And Sandra and Donna feel more empowered too, just to know what's good and what to be avoided, what they should avoid for their cats. And their cats are healthier because of it. So if you are ready to switch your cat's food, either raw or home cooked, raw is ideal, but again, with cooked, at least you have control over the ingredients and how it's made. And you want all of this for a happier cat. Grab my Raw Feeding Cats Blueprint. It is in the description below. It comes as a video course or an ebook, whichever way you like to learn. It includes complete and balanced recipes with a nutritional analysis. There's lots of variety. You can see the ingredients on the page before you make a purchase. All of the supplements are available on Amazon US. They're all whole foods, and I only focus on what we absolutely have to use so that it is complete and balanced. And then if you live outside the US, they are available on 𝐉𝐄𝐄, which ships internationally. Again, all of that information is on that page. When you click to read it, you'll know exactly what you're getting before you buy it. And you'll get the same plan that Sandra and Donna and hundreds of other cat parents have used to switch their cats to a healthy, raw diet successfully. And they're actually able to see results because they stick with it. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you inside the Raw Feeding Cats Blueprint.